In this episode of Living with an E36 M3, proudly sponsored by BOTB, where you can win yourselves a brand new car for the price of duct tape, because let's face it, I'll be needing a lot of duct tape for my E36 M3 Lemon. We're going to be looking at the differences between the US spec M3 and the EU spec M3, and I'm going to be showing you American guys how you got completely screwed over. I love my BMW E36 M3 Lemon. Sure, it was a little rusty when I bought it, and okay, it's lost a few horses in its 20 years, but it looks great, sounds awesome, and satisfies my power and performance cravings on a daily basis. The same I would not be able to say about the US specification E36 M3, however, because, legend has it, the E36 M3 wasn't even supposed to go on sale in North America, following disappointing sales of the E30 M3 and E34 M5. But because the BMW Car Club of America campaigned hard, BMW cracked and agreed to introduce a new car. However, to keep costs low and to offer it for a price of only $35,800, BMW cut big corners, resulting in a car that was slower, more basic, and way less of an M3 than its European brother. The engine in the US spec M3 wasn't even a proper M3 engine. Picture the scene. You've bought yourself a US spec E36 M3. You lift the bonnet to admire your magnificent S50 B30 engine, but the only thing that stares back at you is regret. You see, while the original displacements of both the US and European spec S50 B30 engines were the same at 3 litres, the European versions featured individual throttle bodies and a continuously variable Vanos valve timing system. The American car, by contrast, was fitted with the more basic 2-stage Vanos system found on the M50 engine and didn't even get individual throttle bodies. The American engine's compression ratio was also lower, all of which resulted in 240 horsepower and 225 pound-foot of torque compared to the European engine's 286 horsepower and 236 pound-foot torque. Power figures in Europe were later raised to a mega 321 HP with the introduction of the 3.2-litre S50 B32 engine, while the poor guys in America got screwed a second time, getting the same 240 horsepower output as before, despite getting a 3.2-litre version of the S52 engine. Torque was increased by 11 pound-foot though, which is something at least. Top speed was limited to 137 miles an hour. Any decent car with 240 HP and a curb weight of roughly 1440 kilograms should be able to nudge 150 miles an hour, but not the US spec E36 M3 because that was electronically limited to 137. Us Europeans got an M3 whose limiter kicked in at 155, although as you can see here, a few cars clearly didn't get the memo. In terms of outright pace, the US car hit 60 in 6.1 seconds throughout its lifespan, while the European version managed a best time of 5.5 seconds. US spec M3s didn't get the cool option of headlight washers. Next to the wonderful engine, one of the coolest things about the European E36 M3 was the option of its headlight washers that gloriously punched their way into the atmosphere to spray high-pressure cleaning fluid onto the lights. Look, it's even cooler in slow motion. Unfortunately, US spec cars never got this luxury to ensure that manufacturing costs were kept low. The US spec E36 M3 didn't feature an oil temperature gauge. While the European E36 M3 got an oil temperature gauge in the speedometer cluster, BMW in America decided to replace this with a crappy fuel economy gauge, because apparently American buyers of E36 M3s don't give a damn about monitoring their car's operating temperatures. Yeah, right, BMW. And while we're on the subject of instrument clusters, the European E36 M3 Speedo boasted a top figure of 280 kph, which translates to 174 miles an hour, while the Speedo in the US car stopped dead at 260 kph or 162. Boo! US buyers never got the option of a 6-speed manual. When the E36 M3 first came out, both the European and US spec cars featured a 5-speed manual gearbox. However, in 1996, when both E36 versions were upgraded to 3.2 litres, the European M3 received a 6-speed manual gearbox too, while the American cars were left in the dark ages with the same 5-speeder as before. Interestingly though, and to suit the American driver, a 5-speed automatic gearbox was later offered on the US car, further cementing the fact that this was no proper M3. Floating rotors came standard on European cars, not US cars. When it came to the car's brakes, US spec M3s featured solid rotors, which did the job well enough, but when compared to the 2-piece floating rotors on the European cars, the difference was noticeable. For starters, the hub was made out of aluminium, which meant that unsprung weight on each corner was reduced. Then there are the benefits that come with floating rotors, including better cooling, less fade, less chance of warping, and the fact that they help keep heat away from the wheel bearings. The rear diff on the US E36 E36 M3 wasn't as strong. Higher mileage E36 M3s in the US are more likely to suffer from failed differentials due to the fact that they were smaller than those found on European cars. This meant that their bearings were more likely to shatter and flanges would break more easily when the diff got hot. Nice one, BMW. The headlight lenses on US cars were made out of crappy plastic. Further cost-cutting measures for the US market E36 M3 meant that the car's headlight lenses were made out of plastic, which were easily pitted by stone chips. They also featured a more simple reflector construction than the glass ellipsoid headlights fitted to European M3s. For that reason, it's fairly common for owners of US cars to swap out the headlights with the European units. So those are the massive differences between the European and the US spec E36 M3. And now I'm going to hand you guys over to Christian from BOTB, who's going to tell you who's won this week's £150 credit.
Thanks, Alex. Well, we've actually headed out to Marbella today, and we've just handed over the keys to a brand new Mercedes C43 AMG to our weekly Dream Car winner. Now, if you fancy winning your dream car with BOTB, head over to botb.com, where you will find over 170 cars to choose from. What's more is at the end of every Living with an E36 episode, we are giving away £150 worth of free tickets to enter the weekly Dream Car comp. This week's lucky game credit winner then is Joel Elder. Congratulations, Joel, for your chance to win £150 worth of tickets. Sign up at botb.com and follow the instructions in the video description below. Best of luck, everyone.
I'm here at Blyton Park. To my left is a Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT, V8, 461 horsepower, and today I'm going to be racing a plane, an actual plane, and here is the plane's driver, a guy called Peter. How is it to drive in the sky?